Hello, good morning. So I'm here at 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning in Spain, and I am waiting for people to come and join me on my first class of yoga philosophy. I'm going to be explaining the Yamas, which are the first part. And I'll just read through what I have now as we're waiting for people. So, what are the 8 paths of yoga? So the 8 limbs of yoga, often called Ashtanga, Asht meaning 8, I think, yeah. Ashta meaning 8 and Anga meaning limb. So the first of the 8 is Yama, which are often said to be restraints, models, disciplines of being. So the first of the 8 limbs of yoga are pretty much things that you're not supposed to be doing, but I've changed them slightly to be a bit more liberating, because I think more people are likely to do things that they are told to do rather than to be told not to do something. Kind of plants the seed of doing what you're not supposed to be doing. So the 5 yamas, there's 5 of them, are ahimsa, which is non-violence, satya, which is truthfulness, Ashteya, which is non-stealing, Brahmacharya, which is continence, and Aparigraha, which is non-covetousness. So I've written some notes about each of the yamas and how to bring them into day-to-day life. And what I'll do for now is read them out, and then if anyone ever has any questions, I'm very happy to discuss them at length. So ahimsa, the first one, non-violence. So this is where veganism and vegetarianism come into the thought processes around yoga. So the idea is, how can you be kind and non-violent to lots of different life, including animals, if you eat them. So for example, Jainism is a different type of religion, quite a very strong religion, where they have a deep connection with this thought pattern, non-violence, to the point where they've carried a broom with them to sweep in front of them with to avoid stepping on bugs. So you can go that far if you want to. I'm thinking not necessarily the case these days, but you can, when you find a spider, you can let it out the window or put it in the garden rather than killing it. And same with flies. You can get lots of natural remedies which flies and little bugs don't like, and then you don't have to kill them. Same with mice and rats and all sorts of stuff. So when it comes to non-eating of animals, I would suggest, this is where I put into my own life the Buddhist element, which is where I accept food that has been cooked for me that includes meat and fish, so that I'm grateful for it. However, when it's my turn to cook, I will prefer to use vegetables only, and also I try and reduce the amount of meat and dairy products that I eat. And if I do eat something that has had a life lost because of it becoming food, often I say like a little internal prayer to say thank you for the life that was lost in order for me to eat. I consciously thank the soul that has passed when I consume meat. So it's it's a way to become more aware of your actions, and this is the first part to changing your actions in the future. So if you can go full vegetarianism, full veganism, go for it, because then that's the first part, and you tick that box of non-violent. However, it's a little, if it's not something that you're very, very interested in, you can just start and open the door by being aware that something violent did happen, a life was lost, and just those little changes to your day-to-day life will affect your daily actions. So the point of this particular class is to just give you an introduction into the 5 yamas, and then on each week one of each of the limbs, and then you can see if you want to pursue it. So the second one is satya, or truthfulness, and I say to be kind with your truth. So telling the truth is let me just scroll down. So it can take a bit of effort at the beginning. Often people lie because it's easier, or they don't want to endure something that might be thought of as a bit tricky at the time. However, lying requires effort in the future, because you have to remember what you said, and also what happens when the truth comes out for real. So it's often a mess, and people are often like, why didn't you just tell me the truth in the first place? And, oh, I was trying to not hurt you, or something like that, or didn't even think about the consequences, or something like that. Who knows? So there's always different reasons why people lie. However, this yama tries to open you up to telling the truth. Now, the benefits of that are you save yourself from a lot of time and effort in the future, and a lot of upset in the future, because we all know the truth will eventually come out, and even if it doesn't come out, kind of left there holding the truth that no one else knows about, so that requires effort as well. So you can spend a little bit of time and effort in the now, tell the truth in a nice way, and then you free yourself from all of that burden in the future. So there's something which is taking a lot of people by just it being quite interesting, is called radical honesty, and I'm trying to implement that into my day-to-day life. So, for example, how often has somebody said to you, how are you? And you said, oh, I'm fine, even though your world is like properly falling apart. This is actually a really great opportunity to tell the truth, without blame, without judgment, without asking for a solution, without going off onto one, and just taking a moment to say, you know what, this, and this, I'm not great, or this, and this, I'm absolutely fantastic. Because often people don't tell the truth when it's a good thing, because they're scared of hurting the other people, or they don't think the other person's going to be, happy for them. I know a lot of people that play down a lot of their successes because they don't want to, they don't want to be seen, or they don't want to make the other person feel bad that, maybe they're not as successful, or they're not as happy, or whatever. But this is something really important, telling the truth. It's a chance to find out who is around you, and I've written here, every day you have a chance to tell the truth and open yourself up to compassion, celebration, and true connections with different levels of your social circle. So have a go at just telling the truth in a nice way. For example, yesterday, a friend asked me, are you going to get on the exercise bike? And I said, no, I don't feel like it. So instead of saying, instead of ignoring the message, instead of lying and saying, oh yeah, I did 30 minutes on the exercise bike. Yeah, I'm good. I told him, look, it's the first day of my period and I don't feel like it. So he's like, wow, that's girl talk. So, well, it's the truth. So now he's like, oh, okay. And then another friend of mine is saying, do you have a hot water bottle? Or have you got enough chocolate? And then they're just they've just come around to a different way of thinking, and I really appreciate that going forward in my relationships, just telling the truth. So the next one is Ashteya, and Ashteya means non-stealing. So I've changed it slightly in this particular class because I want you to be open to gifts. So imagine these guidelines were written close to 1700 years ago, when resources may have been scarce and the world of crime was punished quite severely. And even now, there's places that, will do horrendous things, cut off hands if you've stolen something. So this is a big protection that Patanjali, the gentleman, or the sage or sages, we're not quite sure, wrote. So this yama would protect a lot of people from harm. And what it does is, to bring this into the day-to-day, is, I think, allow us to explore what happens in that moment of taking something that isn't yours. So ask yourself, has there been a time that you stole something? And have a look at why. So for example, stealing can happen for a number of reasons. We've heard of celebrities that have stolen casual items in supermarkets, even though they have lots of money and they have everything. And that might be because they've got a problem with recognition. Maybe they want to be seen and they're just not being seen for good things. So often people turn to not so good things to get that attention, to get that recognition, to get some sort of acknowledgement in their life. So sometimes people steal for the rush and the excitement of getting away with something naughty. And sometimes people steal because they don't feel they have any other option. Maybe they need to steal that thing, that food, to feed their family or something. So if you're ever in that position and you need to steal in order to survive, then there are so many ways of opening yourself up to gifts, charities, asking for help from friends and families rather than stealing. So this Ashteya, I want it to be more of opening up in order to receive rather than taking something that's not yours. So this chasing of something that isn't theirs is an internal issue. So sometimes it's a thirst for something other than what it is that's being stolen. So two ways of putting this Ashteya into daily life is to, one, explore why you want it and be honest with yourself. Do you really need it? And what would be the consequences of getting it? And then being more creative and saying, like, how can you make it yours without it being stolen? How can you make it yours securely so it won't be taken away? Second way of trying to put this into your life, this non-stealing, is to understand that it's a passing feeling. So I think we've all been in the position where we've taken something that's not ours, either by accident or whatever, or on purpose, who knows. Just let it go. And often you can ask for something as a gift, and you'll be surprised how generous some people will be if you just let them. So have a look at that one, Ashteya, non-stealing. Then the fourth one, which is quite interesting, remember these are written from 1700 years ago, is Brahmacharya, which is continence. This is often thought to be as the celibacy one, where you're told not to have sex unless it's for procreation and the idea of making life. Now, I'm a bit more liberal because we're now living in a world where you do have the opportunity, many people have the opportunity to have sex for pleasure rather than just for having children. Again, remember, these are from 1700 years ago, and sexually transmitted infections. There weren't condoms at the market. There weren't ways of protecting yourself from infections and diseases. So this was another sort of protection. However, now we've got all sorts of different protections. So there is a way of having this, having sex and enjoying it rather than being fearful of it. So there's a couple of things that I want to explore this, and that's to be kind with your sexuality. So I've written here, let me just get the wording properly correct. I want to make sure that it's understood. I'm not saying being promiscuous, but understanding that sexual contact is very special. It's, biologically speaking, it's to create life. However, sharing your body with those that find the act as special as you do will favour better quality of relationship in mind, body and spirit. So if you're just sort of sleeping with anybody, having sex with anybody, there's a way that you are living your life which isn't very connected with your true with your true self. Spiritually speaking, sexual acts are quite linked to the root chakra, which is red. And ideally, we want all of our chakras to be working in unison, and favoring one chakra over another, for example, the root chakra, the red chakra, the one that's close to all the sex organs, means that the other chakras don't get as much attention, and it means that the spiritual body isn't working in unison. So what we can do is try and focus on the other chakras, the heart chakra, which is green and pink here in the center, and try and cultivate the energy there, leading with love, or focusing on the solar plexus, the yellow chakra, which is where a lot of confidence is working from, and leaving the root chakra behind in your relationship so that they can develop into a sort of a higher level of connectedness. So have a think about that one. So at the time it was meant to be, I would imagine, just stopping people from being loosey-gooseys. But now I think there is some knowledge and there is some wisdom to being a little bit more kind with your sexuality towards yourself and using it for special occasions so that it is quite special. And then the final one, which is a parigraha, or non-covetousness. Non-covetousness. So when we covet something, we kind of hold on to it. And when we let go, a parigraha is to be kind and let go. So I remember this one phonetically because graha kind of in my head sounds like grip. So graha, grip. And I mean, we've all heard, if you let the thing you love most go and it comes back to you, then you know it's meant to be. And I think some of that basis of that way of thinking comes from this particular yama. So the idea in my head is that when we hold on to something, it builds upset into the future. So when you hold on to something, there's a couple of things that happen. One is you can squash it, and you can crush it because you're holding on to it so tightly. So that's a good idea, to let it go and just see if it comes back or allow it to grow and flourish. Another thing that happens when you hold on to something is you may not enjoy it as much because you think you might have it forever. So this non-covetedness allows a kind of appreciation in the here and now, because when you let it go, it may change, it may grow, it may transform into something else, but in that particular moment in the now, you appreciate it for what it is. So I've written here, holding on can stifle the thing that we're coveting. And the idea is that being separate from the thing, not holding on to it, not dragging it forward, not pushing it forward, not keeping it in the here and now, means that we get more of a flow into our lives. So it's very liberating. This yama allows us to adapt better because we are not trying to keep something the same. We're allowing it to change and transform because we put it on the outside of ourselves. We take this covetedness, and we dissolve that, and then it's a kind of like an understanding of change. So to go briefly through everything, just to, as a little reminder, the yamas are ethical standards that one can hold oneself to, focusing in on the behavior that you create within yourself. And these are 5 different guidelines that will allow for a better quality of spiritual life, according to Patanjali. So, number 1, ahimsa, which is non-violence. Number 2, satya, which is telling the truth. 3, ashteya, which is non-stealing. Brahmacharya, which is continence, being kind with your sexuality. And number 5, aparigraha, or non-covetedness. So I choose to remember ahimsa as being kind to all life, satya as being kind with your truth, ashteya, which is being open to gifts, brahmacharya, which is being kind with your sexuality, and aparigraha, number 5, being kind and letting go. So I hope you enjoyed this lecture. If you have any questions, just send me a message or an email or whatever. Just get in contact. There's so many ways. You can contact me through the Facebook group, which I'll put the links into, or you can just Google Aliya Holistic Therapies. You can contact me on Facebook through another group called the Amazing Art Society, which I'm the founder of. I create therapeutic art classes and different social aspects for people that are interested in art and yoga. You can get me on Instagram, either Amazing Yoga with Aliya or Amazing Art Society. You can Google both of those and you'll find me. And there's so many ways to get in touch with me. If you ever have a question, just please do ask. If there's anything that you want to discuss further or would like more guidance on, just again, I welcome you to get in touch. And I hope you enjoyed these first 5 yamas. Next week, we're going to have a look at the niyamas. The niyamas are things that you can do as observances towards the outside world. So the yamas are towards the inside world. Sorry, no, the other way around. Yamas are to the outside world, things that you do in the outside world. And the niyamas are the things that we do internally. So I believe that just having 1 week of following yamas, how you behave in the outside world, allows more space. It's very clears out a lot of things from the inside of us, and that allows more space for us to focus in on the niyamas, which will be next week at 10 o'clock. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. And if there's anything that I can do to help you, please do get in touch. Lots of love and see you soon. Bye.